So today we're out at the range checking out the HK45C chambered in 45 auto, and we're also comparing it to my other firearm here, the HK USP Tactical chambered in 45 auto. So I'm sure you guys know plenty of history on these things, but the HK USP, the market's around 2005, 2006. Around that time, the Mark 23 SOCOM was also being developed, and they share a lot of the same tech, getting this thing to shoot so amazing and be so reliable, as most people know. But how does it stack up to, and how does it compare to the HK45 Compact? This guy came out in around 2005, 2006, roughly 10 years later, developed by HK, Ken Hackthorne, and Larry Vickers. And this was supposed to be a possible replacement for the 9mm Beretta, a pistol chambered in 45 auto. From what I understand, the reason it didn't go through was because of cost. HK's stuff is always pretty expensive. I think rightfully so. It's awesome gear, but nevertheless, it was adopted, but just on a limited basis. So we're going to be out here just kind of going through these here, comparing them and seeing how they shoot. We're going to load and make ready here. And feeling that trigger, I'm actually going to start off in single action and just do a quick squeeze. Not too bad. Now same thing, starting off in single action, and we'll compare these two. So interesting thing about these two after that little test there is, yeah, the HK45C is definitely a lot smoother in that single action mode. Especially, so let me show you something here. So if we pull the trigger and have the hammer all the way down, you can tell it's actually a little bit loose. Now that's tight, right? But if we're in half cock mode, you've got a little bit of travel take up on there, and from there it's actually not too bad to get a round off. Pretty short travel, generally speaking, and it's in the amount of poundage it takes to pull it back it's actually not too bad. Definitely an improvement over the USP as far as that goes. So I carry this, when I carry it inside the waistband, I'm actually in decock mode, one in the chamber, and then outside the waistband on a belt or whatever, I run in cocked and locked like that. Definitely always, for the USP, definitely always in cocked and locked for sure. So next we're moving on to another test. I just want to compare these two and see how the recoil, the feel of it, right? And so we'll move on to that next. So on this next thing we're going to look at here is just the felt recoil. Just how does the thing feel to shoot compared to the USP? One of the interesting things by design with the 45C or the 45 and the USP is if you actually slam the mag home, the slide will automatically close. It's pretty cool feature and chamber around. So, all right, we're gonna do a few shots here and just kind of feel it out. Really nice recoil impulse. It's a little bit more snappy than the USP, but that's to be expected, especially considering it's a much larger firearm. But yeah, very comfortable. One of the things that I always run on my pistols is the Talon grips. These things are awesome, and this was the Pro version. It's got kind of a rubberized finish on the granular. We'll see how long it lasts. I mean, some of these little pieces kind of come off, but nevertheless, it really works really well. That, and I like to run a little bit of tape on the bottom side too. But yeah, a couple more rounds here. And yeah, another thing I want to point out too is these are, suppressor height sights, and this is kind of their, somewhat target version. It's blacked out in the rear. It is adjustable on your elevation. The windage you have to do by just moving it with the tool, but yeah, really nice sights on it for sure. Good stuff. All right, USP, same thing with this. You slam a mag home, chambers around. Nice feature about that. Couple rounds. Very smooth shooting. It, you know, again, it's a larger handgun, so it's obviously going to have more recoil control. There's less felt recoil coming back and whatnot. But you know, that it's kind of that, you know, if you've ever shot the USP or what have you, it's kind of that USP feel, right? It just really handles that 45 really well for a lot of different reasons, and it's very accurate too. So. All right, so far, what do we, you know, one thing I want to touch base on is like, what do you get? Like, was the 45 CL that's sort of an upgrade to begin with? Now, stepping back for a minute, in my opinion, I still prefer the USP over the full-size 45. I don't think there was a big enough change for me, and on the newer design, it's got a slimmer grip and whatnot, but you lose 2 rounds for that. So for me personally, I think the USP is, you know, something I prefer more. Now, when you step to the 45 Compact, there was a big enough change, and they did enough to make, you know, make you kind of open your eyes a little bit and go, you know, maybe this is something that's different enough to kind of warrant switching out to that, to the 45C, as opposed to, you know, the full-size USP, full-size 45, or the USP Compact. Those are like nearly impossible to find these days too, by the way, at least from where I was looking. So in the current configuration, with this right here, so that the factory USP comes with a 12-round mag, and I'm running a 2-round mag extension. I went with the tube too because it's really not that much bigger than the factory. You get 2 rounds. So grand total, you'd have 15. If you ran, you know, put one in the chamber. If not, you got 14 in the mag. Not too bad for 45. So it's nipping at the heels of the FN Tactical as far as capacity goes. Yet you got that amazing HK 45 or HK USP reliability and just everything that goes with them. With this one here, so it's a little bit different. You can get a mag, basically a flush fit, just about flush fit mag that's 8 rounds, or their elephant foot is basically their 10-round mag with sort of like a rubber extension on there. It looks a little bit like an elephant foot. I do have that one at home. Of course, I forgot my other mag today for the 45 Compact, but nevertheless, you know, that's how this came. And then of course you've got the with this one, this is their 8-round mag with an extension, brings you to 12 rounds. So 12 rounds in a, you know, a little bit more compact 45. That's not too bad. Also, the other thing too is this is the meat. You can actually, well, it's covered up by the grip, so you basically can replace the rear of the grip here. It's a little plate that goes in here, either the small or medium. This is the medium. Obviously, you can't do that on the USP, but that's kind of another, you know, subtle, nice feature of it. It doesn't really change the, it doesn't, you know, it's the quality of it. It doesn't rattle around or anything like that. So as far as lights goes, this is the TLR7 sub. I really like the way they set this guy up. So the switch on there is really open and present toward your finger, right? It's easy to shoot with. It's actually a little bit better than this. I like it better than Surefire, unless you would just turn it on and leave it on. But yeah, this is a really great light, especially for this. It fits really well. It actually, when the slides close, it actually sits behind the barrel, so you really don't get a lot of soot and stuff on the light. With here, we're running the Surefire Vampire. It's basically IR, white, and off. You know, a much bigger light, but they offer that IR feature on there, so that's really cool. And that's, you know, obviously this is a much bigger gun, but that's kind of a 2 side-by-side comparison to kind of the features of this. Of course, both of them have the O-ring barrel. This one's got the green one, you can see it right there. This one's a black one. They function exactly the same way though. So they basically center the barrel when the slide closes. So it helps with that max grade accuracy. So the 45 Compact has ambi slide release, slide stop. I put on the ambi safety. It only comes, this one only came with the one on the left side, but I put the other one on. Same thing with this. I kind of like that ambi safety feature. The USP does not have rear slide release on there, just on one side. So that was kind of the feature back then. Yeah, and both of them have ambi mag release. I personally prefer, I like this this mag release right here. It's you don't have to break your grip or anything. The way I do it, I just use my index finger, drop the mag, and you're good to go. But yeah, you know, one of the things I really like about HK is they didn't completely try to reinvent the wheel. What they have here is great, like from the original design, and they stuck with the things that worked. Later on in the video, I'm going to take the two apart, compare them side by side on the inside. But the trigger group, I don't think the parts are interchangeable, but the basic design is, right? With the 45, or with the USP Tactical, they do have that incredible spring up front, the dual spring. I'll show you that later. I'm sure you've seen that before. They got away with that on the 45 Compact with a flat spring and a buffer. Which one's better? I really don't know. This shoots softer. I feel it's more of a light push. Either way, you know, that could be due to the weight though too. So, you know, other than that, yeah, the rear sights are great. On the USP, that comes with tritium in the rear, tritium in the front. The 45 Compact is just tritium in the front, blackout in the rear. So there you go. So yeah, we're gonna move on to transitioning targets, just two rounds. See how it is shooting side by side like that. So we'll take a look at that. We'll check it out and see how it goes. All right. Not too bad. Some of my rounds come in a little bit high, but felt pretty good overall. So next up, we've got the HK 45 Compact, just doing some transitions. Not too bad. So not too bad with that last run with the HK 45 Compact. The lighter handgun, you could definitely feel how much lighter that is in the hands to move from transition from one target to the next. Recoil still felt pretty good, and yeah, it ran really well. Next we'll be transitioning from rifle to pistol with the HK USP and see how that goes. With the HK 45C and see how it goes. And again. Still comparing them and kind of reflect back on our range time and what we found and whatnot. Before I did that, though, I wanted to actually go all the way back sort of to the beginning with the Mark 23. I don't think you can really talk about these two without at least bringing it up a little bit. I know, most people know what that is, but it was interesting to look at just how much technology and research and development they took from that and applied it to what we see here. You can almost see the lineage come down from the Mark 23 down to the USP Tactical and on down to this. We're going to take the two firearms apart and kind of compare them and see how similar they actually are. So the first thing I wanted to bring up is I can understand why that people thought that the pistol was just too big for general use, right, for carrying around and shooting. In my opinion, I feel that the HK USP /1911 and pistols around that frame size is probably about as big as you want to get and still keep the pistol practical. I mean, just from, our two comparisons at the range today, I'm not saying that the USP is, unwieldy in any way, but there was a noticeable difference even between these two here. And so when you go out to a Mark 23 size pistol or the Desert Eagle size frame, I mean, it just gets too unwieldy to point and shoot. But yeah, I think that was, it made sense why they, downsized that, but kept some of that tech. On the inner workings between the Mark 23 and the USP Tactical, I think the Mark 23 still yet is even more beefy than this, but a lot of that technology was basically scaled down, and everything was just refined a little bit more and kind of more manageable size package. So one thing I wanted to talk about, something that happened to me personally, and kind of a testament to HK's reliability, especially on the USP, was I was taking a pistol course, and there was 4 stations we had to qualify on. And when I got to station number 2, I pulled the trigger and heard a pop noise, a pop fizzle, and saw a flash come out of the breech here, right? And what actually happened was I had a case rupture. This is the case that actually ruptured on me. And at the time, the slide was locked closed. And I'm standing there kind of like this going, okay, now what? I tried to pull the slide back to get it back, and it was locked. I called over the instructor, and I told him that I had a weapon malfunction, and, I think something happened here. And he tried to get the slide back, but was unable to. So I go back to the truck. I was pretty much done at that. I couldn't qualify any more than stage 2. But after that, I go back to the truck, and I was able to get the slide back. One of the cool things about the USP is it's got this really big extractor, and I was able to push that down and then get the slide back. Because once you push that down, it allows you to go, beyond the edge of the casing. And I was able to get the slide back and then get a tool in and actually extract that casing out of there. And then after pulling it out, this is what we found. But the case was kind of bulged out enough that it was just stuck and not allowing the slide back. So during this whole time, I kind of thought, well, that's the end of that. My barrel's damaged. It's done, right? Lo and behold, there was absolutely no damage done to this barrel whatsoever. Not the barrel, not the chamber, nothing. And so when they say, cold hammer forged cannon grade barrel, they mean it. This thing can take abuse and a beating and just keep going. Yeah, and so I took, for this video here, I took the pistol apart again, just kind of show you. But here's the inside of the chamber, the feed ramps, right? No damage whatsoever. I don't know what position the round was in. Where it actually applied all that pressure to. But yeah, no damage to this at all. And I've seen videos too of other pistols have a malfunction with ammunition, whatever, and it'll blow the casing or the magazine right out of the bottom of the frame. So there's a lot of even though it's a low pressure round, there's still a lot going on there. And for that to happen like that, and blow a case like that and have absolutely no damage whatsoever to the barrel, that's pretty amazing. I was really impressed with that. So the next thing I was going to talk about is grip angles. One of the things they changed on the design, from what I understand with the HK45, is they went with the 1911 grip angle. I don't know about you guys, but I actually started off more seriously shooting pistols on the 1911. I love it. I love the 1911. And at the time, I was like, I really like this, but I'd like something that's a little bit more modernized. And there's so much history that goes back with during the development of these pistols, the Mark 23. I believe Colt did an entrance in that same contract attempt. And this platform was just so light years ahead of that 1911 entry. in regards to what it's capable of, and what they were offering. It was, so that's kind of what I was looking for too at the time. And I love the layout of the slide release, and you fire this actually the exact same way as you would fire a 1911, with your thumb up over the safety, and just like that, right? So that was just like an automatic, nice, natural feature for me. Like I could jump right into this, and I didn't have to kind of refigure things out. Same thing with this. It's more compact and smaller, but the layout is exactly the same. So that was a nice feature. Yeah, and so as far as the mag release go, I love it. Basically, yeah, I just, like I was kind of saying earlier at the range, you're up on target, and I just drop the mag like that, right? It's really quick. I just use my index finger. I mean, I guess, I don't know how you do that, but I guess some people might want to bring their thumb around the other side. The grip's pretty thick to be able to do that, but this works great. The mag release on the side here too is fine, but I really have no complaints with that, and it's in the exact same position on the 45 Compact as well. So, transitioning from this guy to this, no big deal. As I mentioned earlier too, it's got the slide release on this side too. So pretty much this entire pistol is ambi. This is because I added the, safety on there, but except for, the slide release. And so here's, for the HK USP, here's that awesome, amazing spring that everybody talks about. And basically what this thing is, it's a captured spring, right? So it's never going to come off. This entire thing is steel, no polymer. And there's a primary spring. This primary spring runs the slide. The secondary spring acts as a secondary spring to absorb extra recoil coming back in the pistol. And that was one of the reasons why this thing's actually designed to run a steady diet of plus P ammunition. So all that extra force coming back is not being absorbed by the frame and the rest of the firearm. It's being absorbed by this secondary spring right here. And you can really feel it when you're firing plus P ammunition. Standard ammunition, maybe not, but plus P, you could definitely feel it hitting that second spring. So this is all, I don't know if they still have a patent up on it, but this, was patented, and it works quite well. And this is one of the other main features of what makes the USP and the USP Tactical such a great 45 caliber pistol. The machine work on the slide is impeccable as always. It's just excellent, clean machine work. Very rugged and rigid slide. Let me pop the barrel out here real quick. And even after 2,000 rounds, it's still nice and tight in there, which is great to see. The machine work on the barrel is really well. The threads are really nice. The breech and the chamber is really well machined. The feed ramps are polished. And as you can see, you probably can't see it on the camera, but it's got that smooth polygonal rifling in the barrel. Really well designed. And so going on to the 45 Compact, it breaks down the exact same way. Same thing, we're going to get this guy off. And then we'll do that glove grip on there. This one's a little bit tighter, a bit newer. Same, but it comes down the exact same way. Now, the first thing you're going to notice right away is there's the spring difference, right? So this one, they use a flat spring instead of a round-shaped spring. And it does not have that secondary buffer in the back, or the secondary spring. Instead, they use this to help absorb recoil. But same thing, this one's also captured, and it's made of all like high-quality steel. Really excellent machine work. Everything is just really well made. As far as the slide goes, let me pop this barrel out too. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is and I'm sure everybody have seen this too, both these barrels have O-rings on them. And I've heard a lot of different things, but the way this actually works is when the slide comes forward, grab this, Heather. All right, so when the slide unlocks, there needs to be a certain amount of clearance and play to it to allow for the gun to function, right? Plus you have to compensate for dirt and everything else to get that reliability. When the slide locks back forward, that O-ring helps center the barrel. I mean, you can, like right now, I'm trying to move it in the front of the slide, and I can't feel any slop at all. And really, that's what that does. And so comparing these two, on the inside of the slide, both of them have the safety pin block on there, right? I mean, that's kind of a current modern thing that pretty much all semi-auto pistols have nowadays, but you know, they both have that. And you could, like, I'm kind of comparing the two, but you could see the design of these slides are almost identical, right? That's what I was kind of saying at a range time, is they stuck with what worked. You know, the similar machine wick, similar layout of this upper part here where the hammer comes back on. Everything is just, is almost exactly the same design. Okay, so now going to the frames. So both frames are made of polymer, and both of them have steel or metal that is on the inside, and the polymers molded around them for extra rigidity. If we can compare these side by side here, you can see that the trigger groups, and I don't believe any of these parts are interchangeable. Maybe a few are, but the trigger group designs are almost identical. The ejector's in the same spot. The hammers are in the same spot. Everything is, and this is the design going way back originally that, you know, took those 80,000 round, 100,000 round tests, and hey, it's like, hey, if this works so well, like, why change it up too much? Unless, you know, of course you can improve on it, then why not? But what they did improve on, I guess, with this, I guess you could say, is the single action mode. It was a lot smoother in this, and you can get a few aftermarket parts that shorten the reset. I haven't done it on either of these yet. I'm the type that really has to be a believer before I start screwing with my trigger. I need these things work 100% of the time, every single time, no matter what. HK pulled that off back in the 90s. Why reinvent the wheel? It's different if you have a firearm that just you take out and shoot or maybe compete with, but this thing here has got to work. And you know, I might try that someday. I'm not really sure. I got to do more research on it, but you know, that's how that goes. So going down to the mag wells too, even I forget what they call it, but basically they have a detent area where you can rip the mag if you ever got one stuck. Both of those designs they remained over the years. The mag wells are very, very similar, and the position of the hammer spring on the backside here is, you know, almost identical in the same spot. Here a feature too I was going to bring up, and everybody kind of knows that, but you can see that elongated trigger guard, right? It's designed for use of gloved fingers and whatnot. And not only that, I mean, it's just kind of nice if you're ever grabbing your gun quickly. It's nice to not have to be, you know, not have to be hitting part of the frame and stuff. You kind of compare it to my Glock. Again, awesome pistol, but obviously much smaller than the HK's design. This thing is nice and chunky and compact though too, so love this thing. Yeah, so without going too far into it, I mean, there's just kind of a quick overview comparison between the two. I personally love the design. I think it's just they really hit a milestone when they designed this pistol. And originally too, one of the things that helped with all this as far as handling the 45, the original USP was designed around the 40 cal, and that has a lot more pressure and it puts a lot more stress on the frame than a 9mm does. So when you're starting with a design that's based around the 40, going from like a 45 and is, you know, pretty good, pretty easy to do. And of course, going down to the 9, you know, we're not worried about parts breaks and stuff like that. It's basically how beefy everything is. Like how that was one of the things back then, is they wanted to be able to run, I think it was 185 grain plus P ammunition, right? And from what I understand is the 45s, at least at the time, when you're running that plus P, you start to see frames crack and whatnot. And obviously that's a no-go. That's not going to work. So yeah, the next thing I was going to talk about is the how well did these two suppress? I do have a little bit of side-by-side footage showing, basically the recoil impulse and the slide opening and closing on how these things looked side by side. And one of the things that really impressed me with, how well both these pistols suppress was they ran so similar, right? There wasn't, you didn't put the can on and all of a sudden, oh, we got a whole different beast here. They both fired exact. This one ran a little bit slower, a little bit softer push. This one was a little bit more snappy, but and that's how it was suppressed as well. Like there wasn't anything different about that. I had no issues with ejection. I had no issues with recoil or anything like that. Both of them just ran really well, which was nice to see. But that kind of goes to show that, I know during the development of both of these pistols, the USP and the HK45 Compact and the 45, is that they were designed around the idea of using a suppressor with it too. So when you kind of start from the ground zero like that, it's really not, it's going to probably lend itself to something that's going to suppress really well. When I haven't done it, I don't have a threaded barrel 45, but one of the things I hear on and off is that the 1911, or sorry, I don't mean 45, 1911, I hear that some of the 1911s suppress fine, and other ones have issues with, failing to eject and different things like that. So, it just kind of goes to show you, and it's not a knock on the 1911. I love the 1911, but the point I'm trying to make is when you start out designing a pistol from the ground up to accept a suppressor, you're gonna hopefully get that in the end. The suppressor I chose was the Omega 45K. I'm gonna later on down the road do another video on that one, by itself. But I was looking for just a standalone, one-piece, lightweight 45 cal, dedicated 45 cal suppressor, and yeah, that thing ran awesome. I was so impressed. The recoil impulse was nice and light and smooth. I didn't have any issues with powder. So when you suppress any kind of semi-automatic, either rifle or handgun, you're going to have gas pressures coming back through the barrel, out the breech, and either potentially coming off the side or even back of the shooter. So one of the things that people talk about or you notice is you're going to have basically particulate particles coming back in your face and things like that. And I did not notice that on either of these pistols either. They ran really, really smooth and really well. The extra soot that was in that happens with firing suppressed, again, I only ran 300 rounds, so that's not that much, but I didn't really notice any kind of issues with soot buildup, and all of a sudden then the firearm doesn't want to load anymore or fire anymore. That wasn't an issue at all. Yeah, so I touched base on and just kind of did a quick overview on both these pistols, kind of comparing them. Whether you like them or not, that's kind of personal preference. I love the HK USP for sure, and I'm really, really starting to like this 45 Compact. I'm very good. I'm glad I bought this. Actually got this for $650. Wasn't planning on buying a gun that day, but I ran across this and they wanted $650 for it. I'm like, do you guys know what you have there? I didn't say that, but I was like, I'm thinking that. And so I bought an HK 45 Compact that day, and I'm so glad I did.